On my recent study trip to Europe, I had a really cool opportunity to really engage with the industry over there, and so I am going to share with you some of the highlights of that. My main goal for this vlog is to highlight not only the amazing networking and learning opportunities I encountered, but also the cultural insights I gained along the way. Early on in the trip, I went to Guildford in England, which has so many studios housed there, it's kind of crazy. I ended up knocking on the doors of a bunch of studios just to ask to talk to their developers, and I got turned away from a lot of places, but I did get the chance to speak to a few. And they were super cool, super chill, and I think I really distracted them from their work. We also spent an evening with the team from Larian Studios. They made Baldur's Gate 3, if you weren't already aware. And I actually really appreciated the casual setting in which we were chatting. I think this very informal networking was really beneficial and really made me a lot less nervous to meet some people that I was like, oh my god! If I'd met them at a major event, I don't even think I'd speak to them. I was so nervous. But really getting to chat to them did remind me, these are just people, it's cool, they're just people. People who made a really cool game. But it reminded me that building relationships in the industry isn't just about going to every networking event, it's about actually just hanging out. What really stood out to me in Guildford was the balance between professionalism and playfulness. At one point in the day, I knocked on the door of one of the studios and conned one of their developers for talking to me for like 20 minutes. He was at work and I was relentless and mortified. But he was super nice and so open to chatting. The game development industry really thrives on creativity, and engaging with developers in a fun, relaxed environment really helped me see how collaboration happens naturally when people are passionate about their work. Aside from this, my first major event was Devcom in Cologne. Devcom is one of the leading conferences for game developers, and it was an incredible opportunity to network with industry professionals from all over the world. I attended talks from everything to covering AI to just environment design and art, and it was really cool. These are seasoned professionals of the industry, and they were talking to me, or more so I was yapping at them and they were nodding and smiling like this. But like, all things aside, it was really cool to speak to people from everywhere, basically. I mean, we all have such different environments around us. Of course, we're gonna have different perspectives. Australia's so isolated that it's really interesting to hear from these other perspectives. Later in the week, I also attended Gamescom, and I got to work on the Australian booth in the business area. Gamescom is one of the largest gaming conventions in the world. So not only did I get the chance to explore the latest games and technologies being showcased, but I did get to work with Australian developers. We were the jet-lagged booth. I mainly worked with IGEA and Playside, but I did get the chance to speak to some developers from other Australian studios like Hipster Whale. Because I was working with IGEA, I was basically a receptionist for the Australian booth, but it kind of gave me first-hand knowledge on how developers from other countries might come over and meet with our developers, and a lot of people asking for meetings. Being at Gamescom really reinforced the global nature of the game development industry. Developers from every corner of the world were there. It's such an international industry. I mean, for example, Larian Studios has studios set up in basically every time zone so they can work 24 hours a day. That means international cooperation is completely necessary, especially if the industry is going to keep growing and evolving at the rate it is. One of the most fascinating parts of this trip was seeing how culture affects the way someone would make their game. When we were in Paris, I visited the Eiffel Tower, the catacombs, the Notre Dame, the Arc de Triomphe. It was all super gorgeous and like steeped in history, like a history tea. Or I don't know what else you steep. But like, seeing this, you can really see why French games are the way they are. They have such depth and appreciation for beauty. I mean, look at Assassin's Creed. You can tell that the developers of that game really care about the history of the place that they're in. And France welcomes that, Paris welcomes that. Ubisoft has even been honoured by the French government for its contributions to preserving French history. Also, the France booth at Gamescom stretched the entire business floor. Ours was so small compared to theirs, it was crazy. They've got such a huge, it was so big. In the Netherlands, I visited Breda University, where I got to see their program. I also spoke to some Danish students there so I could hear their perspective, and also some German students. they were all really cool. The curriculum at Breda emphasises creativity and technology, but what really struck me was their focus on teamwork. Culturally, the Netherlands places high value on collective effort, which is reflected in how their students are taught to collaborate and solve problems together, even if they're from all over Europe. Throughout my travels, I noticed how cultural norms impact not just how games are made, but what games are made and how different people communicate. For example, in Germany, it did feel very professional. It wasn't mean, but it was very professional. I think going on this trip and understanding cultural differences is so important in such a global industry. But it's one thing to go and experience this, and it's another thing to take something away from it. One thing that became very clear to me is that global collaborations are driving innovation in game development. When developers from different cultural backgrounds come together and work together, they bring fresh ideas and new perspectives to the table. This diversity is shaping the future of games. You notice it in more and more games that are coming out. Game experiences are becoming more varied, and gamers are becoming way more diverse, and so are games themselves. My biggest recommendation for anyone wanting to work in game development is to seek out these international experiences, whether it's just attending conferences or doing some kind of study or just engaging with developers from different countries, even online. These interactions will open your eyes to new ways of thinking. In an industry as dynamic as game development, staying open-minded and culturally aware is key to success. This study tour really gave me an incredible chance to engage with the global game development industry on so many levels, from networking at Gamescom and Devcom to understanding cultural differences in Paris, Guildford, Amsterdam, London. I've gained such an appreciation for the diverse nature of the industry. Every city and every interaction brought new insights. And there's no way I can't apply this to the games I make in future. Also, I couldn't find any way to put this in the blog, but I met Alejandra Callado. It was so cool. And my biggest flex right now is that we're mutuals on Twitter. I don't know how to end this video, so